I don't know, man. I've not swallowed the pill about how it's going to save the world or whatever. I think AI is very disruptive. I think it has come to change a lot of things. Sometimes not for the better. Right.
Right.
Over the years, I've begun to rely more on AI to do a lot of the software side of things. It's better than I am. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. My point is, AI writes much better code than I am, and I write it faster. Right. So why not just let it do that for me? You can't really fight
Yeah.
it. There's nothing you can do unless you are one of those pulling the strings. And those pulling the strings want AI to take over because, again, it makes them pay less money, right? So what you have to do is just adapt and try to find and forge forward. People still hire product designers that don't know how to code. It's true. People still hire motion designers. People still hire graphic designers. Do they hire them less than they would have 5 years ago? Yes, but they still do. And that's what we have to work with. So that's what we do. We just keep forging on. Is it that or what's the other option again? Sit and that's the thing. There's nothing else to do. There's no other unless you want to change your career entirely. And if you want to do that, that's cool. The only thing I can do is get better at what I do. So enough to stand out. That's one. So I think we also might be overstating how much people don't want to hire people who are good. You don't have to be best in class or anything. I feel like there's nobody that's really best in class at what you do, right? It's sentiments like, but you're not really best in class at what you do. You might be the most popular, right? But like there are other people that are really crazy at what you do. So that's just what you have to do. Just be good at what you do and put your stuff out there. The more you try it out, the more you put it out there, you're like someone who knows how to cook, but then just cooks in their house and eats it. Nobody knows you know how to cook. You have to tell the world that you know how to cook. So that's the thing about projects. So that's why I try as much as I can when I'm not like very busy to do personal stuff and put it out there. That's what you can do. The more personal stuff you do, the better you are at what you do. It's automatic. That's a no-brainer. The more stuff you do for yourself, the better you are at it. And put it out there. So I'm pretty sure. I think product design being built is a very funny thing. And it's very tricky. Product design has evolved from what it used to be. Kind of someone says it's a tool change, not dead. It's not dead, it's just evolved. But every job that I have, literally every job I have, to this day, as in jobs where they reach out to me, whether by reference, whether they found my project somewhere. So on my LinkedIn, there's this project I had with Jackpot. It was a project that I did 6, 7, 8 months prior that they found. That's the thing about putting your jobs out, your works out there. You don't even know what work it is that is going to draw them to you. I kid you not. You don't know what projects that you put out there that had like 0 likes. The likes are not important. Trust me on that one. Believe me when I tell you, the likes are not important. I think, do they do something for your brain, for your dopamine? Yeah. I found that. So what I do when I want to post a project, so I don't have to worry about the likes, is I post it, but I schedule it. So I post it around 11 a.m. or something, whenever I'm ready to do it. And I schedule it maybe like 4 or 5 hours later because I know that by the time it posts, I'm not aware of the posting, right? So I am not watching for likes or reposts.
Like, now that you're sort of like a global person,
I am
is
not
it that
a global person. I am just...
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, wait, no, I get it for... Okay.
I am not a global person. Please, let's just make sure that...
I mean, when I say global person, I feel like you're realizing how much of stuff that you got going on for you. You basically trying to say like, oh, you're not a global person. I was like, it's almost like good people, like people that are really like great at what they are doing and getting traction. Do you know what it means to like actually like win a Rive challenge? And that's not what we're talking. I mean, like, come first. That's like I see your posts like on LinkedIn, right? I see like sometimes I don't know, I can't even like, let me check like the last one I saw, like I can see one here actually got like 416 reactions. That is wild. I get it. Like I get the modesty, I get the an African person. I don't know like I get the fact that you're trying to be modest. But if we're being realistic, people have eyes on you, and it's not just like African people, right? People have eyes on you, and people have eyes on you from all over the world, so we can say you are global, right? All right, so we all are safe to say that. All right. I just like in a sense remind out to people, more people will actually join as we actually continue. As for me, I'm not going to actually wait for people. So I just like with what I have, and the different things that I really would like us to talk about for this particular chat. So thanks for taking the time out to actually come. Yeah, Afeez, I really do appreciate. Just before you joined the chats, like I was having a conversation with I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Andreas or
You call
Andres?
me Andy. Andy's fine.
Andy, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so Andy, like like we sort of like have like low turn up for like these events, and so for me, like I'm sort of like getting used to it. I just still do the videos anyways, then upload them to YouTube. Then whoever is interested, just find them, and hopefully like of use to like the global Rive community. All right, so that's sort of like my motivation as it stands. Um, but for me, like getting to know you, like there are a couple of things that actually stands out to me. Number one is first your name, like Afeez Yunus. So like I felt like this connection, like oh, yeah, this is like a fellow, Nigerian, or if I'm correct, I don't know, like I don't know if like
I lived in Nigeria for a while, but I basically live in the UK. But yeah, I started in Nigeria.
yeah, so like I was like I mean like I felt a lot of connection, like, and when I noticed that you participated in like a Rive challenge, and I think you came, I don't know whether you were first or second, I can't really remember.
I was first.
Oh,
Yeah, I was first. I think it was the first challenge that they had. Yeah, I was first
oh
challenge.
wow, like
Yeah, it's just
so that really, yeah, sorry for cutting you short. That really blew me. Like I was like, oh my god, like okay, there's this Nigerian that there's this Nigerian that's actually like really doing cool stuff with Rive, and I felt like the attraction, immediately, and I was like, okay, I need to come talk to you. I need to find out if you're going to be willing to actually have like a chat, because on my own end, like I've been trying to um create a lot of awareness, about Rive in the African community. So we have like, motion design groups, right? Like, that we are a part of, but we have, there's no Rive community, and the what name would we call it now? The awareness about Rive is really like low. Like, and sometimes like when I even post about it, like people are like, okay, like sometimes they like the post, sometimes they are like, okay, I'm not talking about like on our Telegram chat community now. I'm talking about all this motion, design groups, and like it seems like they are not aware of like the potential. I sort of lost my train of thoughts. Oh, like, what was I going to say?
you're
That guy,
talking
like,
about how it's not very popular in Nigeria.
yes, like, so it's not very popular. Like, a lot of, motion designers are not, there's something I was going to say before I even said that. So, like, I created a Telegram community, like, to sort of, like, create awareness, and, I've been, like, like an African Drive ambassador, basically, just like, telling people every time about Rive, trying to, like, get them to see, like, a lot of motion designers that are actually, like, stuck in their career, like, our Rive could actually bring them out, from that, space, to a point where they actually have, so much job on their hands. Because I see a lot of, possibilities with Rive, honestly. And I know like everything is all coming together. So from that moment, like I knew that I actually wanted to get to talk to you. Like I wanted to hear your thoughts about how you like, how you got to that point. And so like I have had this list, where I like, wrote down like, different names of different people like, that I actually wanted to interview, and you were like maybe like second or third like on my list. I could check. I'm serious, like I have a couple of people like on my list. I mean it's still somewhere on my Google Keep, like I put it there. I was like, let me see. Yes, you're actually second on my list. Um, there was
Very much.
yeah, like you are like I can send a screenshot to the chat now. And in fact, I will send a screenshot to the chat. So you can actually see. Um, okay. I'm going to try to mute. Okay, I've muted it. Okay, good. I'll send it to the chat right now. I've already copied it. I hope I can send pictures to the chat. Okay, turns out I can't. But if I could actually share my screen right now, I could actually just show you. So from right then, like I knew I wanted to like talk to you. I wanted to understand, how you think about this. There's a lot of interesting things for me, about you, like how you how did you even get into product design? As a Nigerian, what like like motivated you to like start like you know working with Rive, and then how are you like able to like match like product design, animation, and stuff like where did all that come from?
Um, it's a long story, but I'll be remiss if I didn't tell you how much of a boring story it is, because it's a very, very boring story. I started learning graphic design when I was in college. I didn't do it because I had passion for it or anything. I just did it because I wanted to make money. So it was graphic design. I tried software development. I tried a lot of things, but I think I got my first client for graphic design back then. And it was a terrible job, very terrible job. But I mean, if you're paying peanuts for a student to design for you, I don't think you're looking for like best in class anyway. So I took your peanuts and I did. It wasn't a great job. I did it, and so because I got my first client, a graphic design, I kind of just stuck with that, and I got more clients, and that was how I became a designer. I would say I've always had like a predilection for like design, because back in secondary school, I was a comic artist. Again, terrible comics for like someone in, but I'd always loved drawing, right? So I think that's what design thing just stuck. So I was a graphic designer, and then I leaned into illustration because I wanted to do more. So I feel like that's always been like a motif for me, trying to like always do more, right? Then from illustration, I went into motion design, because again, you have these things that you want to make move, and the best way to make it move is to actually try a lot of things. I remember talking to my friend back then that I wanted to change my laptop to install. That time I called it Adobe Animate, so I could animate essentially. And he was like, "Well, you will need something that was powerful to start to animate." So I got a new laptop, but it wasn't powerful enough for Adobe Animate. Then I tried After Effects, which is worse. After Effects just stuck with me. So I went into After Effects. I started animating with After Effects. Then I got hired as a motion designer right out of college. I became a motion designer. Yeah, so I worked the company for a couple months before I found out my colleagues. I had colleagues who were product designers, right? So I just kind of figured, I would like to become a product designer. Again, the motif here has always been more, do more, right? And there are certain stages of your life where you can make certain changes, certain career changes, and that's as early as it gets. The older you grow, right, the farther along the line you get, it's more difficult to make changes. You can make these changes, but like it's a whole lot more difficult to do, right? So I figured if I was going to make a change to product design, it would be at that point in my career. So I spoke with my managers back then. I was like, I would like to phase out of motion design and become a product designer. And then they were like, if I was going to do this, I would have to like become a product design intern, because I knew nothing about product design, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So while I was still doing motion design on the side, I'm trying to patch up the work that we had before a new motion design came on board. I became a product designer, in a product design intern, and that from there I intern, then junior designer, mid level, and then senior for a while. I think I stayed with the company for like 4-ish years, just doing things here and there and just designing, and it was great. It was real fun. I left the company for Top Towel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Top Towel. Back then, it was a whole thing. So Top Towel hires this. They call it top 3% in design or development or whatever it is that you do, right? So I kind of applied to Top Towel. I did this like 5-6 stage interview. I did not even think I was going to get in, but I knew that getting in was going to open my world to like a whole lot of possibilities, really. So I just applied. I wanted to understand what their process is like. And for me, that's what job interviews are generally. The more interviews you do, the better you get interviews, right? So I wanted to understand how Top Towel's process was, because I knew that if you apply to Top Towel and they reject you, you have a 6 months wait list before you try to apply again. And to be like, Top Towel has changed, right? But back then they had, I think they still do anyway. They had very stringent rules. They had a whole list of clients that were waiting for skilled designers, developers, marketers, statisticians, and everything like that. So I applied. I passed the first stage, second stage, third stage. I remember how fidgety I would get whenever there was an interview or whenever my results was going to be announced. But I got into Top Towel, and I feel like from then on, Top Towel kind of just opened my eyes to the possibilities of what I could do, right? I worked with like different industries, different clients, startups, large industries. It was a whole thing, and yeah, it's still a whole thing because I still take contracts from them once or twice, right? So after a while in 2023, I was like really overwhelmed because I'd had no rest from work since like 2020. There was no week where I was like, okay, there was nothing I was doing. So in 2023, I was just like, okay, Top Talent, I will take no other clients right now. I need to go on break. So I kind of just traveled, and I visited Lebanon. Great place. I recommend it when the war is over, right? And then I got back home, and it was, yeah, my vacation was still, I had like 3 to 4 more weeks left of the vacation in my head, and there was nothing for me to do. So I was on Twitter, I was browsing Twitter, and notice that before this time, I was already using Lottie files. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Lottie files, right? Because when I'm designing, I like to incorporate like bits of motion in my work, right? So Lottie files helped at that point in time. Lottie files, you'd animate on After Effects. At the time, they've changed now. It's a whole lot more seamless now. But at the time, you animate in After Effects, and then you export to Lottie files. And there are some effects that don't translate well to Lottie files. So you have to go back to After Effects, animate again, send to Lottie files. And then from there, you take the Lottie file or the .lottie and then use it in your work, right? That's how I used to use like motion, in products back then. And then, so during my break 2023, I was just on Twitter and I stumbled upon Rive. And I was like, so this is Lottie files, but different. Let's see what it's about. And it's like everything changed from then onwards. I got into Rive. It was difficult to grasp at first, to be honest. I think I kept going in and coming out because I didn't get the state machine thing. The animation side of things, it was really easy to digest because, again, I've been animating for a while. But the state machine side of things was like really difficult. So I kept bouncing in and out. Well, I don't know, one evening I was like, because they were posts on Twitter, like people were showing like different works from Rive, and I'm like, they're human beings, right? So what's the about? So I just sat one weekend and I was like, okay, it's Rive and me this weekend. Let's see what we can cook up. I stumbled upon this tutorial on YouTube. Very simple 25-minute tutorial. It was about pressing the button on Rive. And I think it was from someone of School of Motion, I don't remember. But that was what changed everything for me. It kind of just put down the state machine for me. And from then I just went on from then onwards, right? I did like a lot of personal projects in Rive. I just kept going. I had a client that when I go back to Top Tower, I had a client that had, funnily enough, something that Rive would have been useful for. They preferred Lottie files, but I was like, why not try Rive? Because Rive has a whole lot more whistles under its belt, right? And we tried Rive and it worked. And yeah, So yeah, that's I've been doing stuff with Rive ever since. So I do a bunch of other things. There's software development, there's Rive, product design, and I find that this is basically how I oscillate, right? These three things, because Rive is great on its own, but you also need to understand how to implement it in code, right? There's the animation side of things, yes, but there's also the data binding. Or back then it was actually just inputs, but there's data binding, and then you need to understand how these things play with code, and how you set up your values for listening and stuff like that. There's a whole back and forth, and while you can actually do it well without knowing how to code, it does really help to know how to code. There's a way you set up your values in Rive that's just better if you know how to code, right? So I learned to code, and that took like, I think that took like 4 months. It was terrible code at first, but I just kept trying different things. I feel like that's it for me. If I learn something, just do personal shit. Forgive my French, just do personal stuff, and it kind of just sticks. So yeah, that's what I've been listening about: product design, software development, and Rive stuff. Just that's my journey. Like I said, it's pretty boring stuff, but yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's not boring at all. That's probably like the most interesting, like story like I've heard, like in the past, like fireside chats that I've been having, like it is what it is, like you know, um, I, I mean, like I just being honest, right? Like I mean, I've not really like had like interesting. Sorry, I've had interesting. I've had Isa, like I've had a couple of people, but honestly, like your story, like is really like really interesting. Um, so basically, you started from graphic design. You went to motion design. From motion design, you got into product design, and from there you know went to like start working with Rive. Then you learned how to code. Then now you're like so like moving between like like that loop, you sometimes like maybe have like product stuff you're doing for a client, then incorporate Rive with it, and stuff like that. I hope I like got you correctly.
Yeah, that's pretty much the summary of it.
Like it's really interesting. So like one of the things that I really like was one of the things that um like stood out for me, like because when I first stumbled on you, like your profile, and I saw like you were no longer like in Nigeria, so I was like, okay, maybe how it happened was that maybe you sort of like maybe went abroad to like study, and then maybe you studied like very like product design, and stuff like that, and you're like super like there, and you like
No, no. So I don't think I've considered studying since I graduated. I'm not a school person per se. I don't know how to put it. I feel like the studying side of things is great, but the exams, there's this pressure that exams put on my head that I absolutely despise. So because of that, I kind of just didn't do school again. So it wasn't really, it's not really for me. I don't know if I can do my master's without having to consider any final project or anything. Yeah, that'll be great. But as long as I final projects, this test of just not that. So I did, the UK thing was a global talent visa way back when. Just applied, submitted some documents, and I got in. And from there, kind of just work like different companies. Most of the time, I would have to travel, because it's mostly remote and hybrid stuff that you just go there, spend 2 days, and come back and stuff like that. Sometimes it's I have to be in the office for like maybe 2 times a month or 3 times a month, and stuff. So the UK side is just, it's where I'm based, but like I kind of move around like a lot. So yeah, but it's not school.
yeah. So
Studying is stressful.
yeah, sure. Like I'm still curious. Like, do you still like work with like because you mentioned that you still work with like talk downs. Do you still like work with like major like brands from Africa, and how is it like? Is it that like now that you're sort of like a global person,
I am
is it
not a
that
global person. I am just
yeah
I am not,
it's okay. Yeah, why no, I get it. Like for okay. How
I
do
am
I
not a
put
global
this?
person. Please, let's just make sure
Okay.
that
All right, all right. So okay, so okay. Now that you're, I mean, when I say global person, like I don't know, like I feel like you're sort of like not, realizing like how much of stuff that you got going on for you, like you basically like trying to say like, oh, you're not a global person out, like it's almost like like good people, like people that are really like great at what they are doing, and they are like getting like traction, and do you know what it means to like actually like win a Rive challenge, right? And that's not what we're talking. I mean, like, come first. That's like I see your post like on LinkedIn, right? I see like sometimes I don't know, I can't even like, let me check like the last one I saw, like it's like um I'm definitely going to check and come see. Yeah, of course, like maybe the likes have been dropping, yeah, but like definitely like a lot of traction on your post, right? I can see one here actually got like 416 reactions. That is wild. Like I don't know, like like no, like you know, like I get it. Like I get the modesty, I get the the I get like as like an African person. I don't know like how it works, but I get the fact that you're trying to be modest. But if we're being realistic, if we're being realistic, people have eyes on you, and it's not just like African people, right? People have eyes on you, and people have eyes on you from all over the world. So we can say you are global, right? All right, so we are safe to say that. All right. So how does it work? Like, is it that, like, do you, because obviously, like, is it that maybe the African, brands that you work with, do they regards to being paid and all that, does it reflect, that value? I mean, do you only work with people that, are like that that would sort of like value you the way like the global, because you have it, I don't know, since you worked in Nigeria, how it goes, like the way the pays, the way the different things sort of like
Yeah,
goes. Is it
yeah.
that?
So I don't think I've worked with an African company. I would say Nigeria, but I don't think I've worked with an African company in years. Like last time I worked with an African company was when I was in college, taking like peanuts for like graphic design and stuff like that. I haven't worked with an African company in years. In terms of being paid for value, I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. And something that Andres can relate to. I feel like it's something that anybody who works right a freelance job or a contract job can relate to. You have your responsibilities. Everybody has responsibilities. If I can't commit a certain amount of my time for the amount of money that you're going to pay, right? It kind of has to match, right? My time, the value of what I'm going to offer, and the payments. Everything has to like kind of match. And obviously, as you kind of advance in what you do, you understand how to provide, how to offer more value, right? Like so that's it. You have to understand the kind of value that you're offering. That's it. So the question on my mind is, how can I like increase what I offer? That's like I said it earlier. That's always my motive. That's always been more. When I was a graphic designer, I had to learn illustrations because I wanted to offer more value. I had to learn motion design because I had to offer more value. I had to learn product design because I had to offer more value. So that's the thing. It's what you have in your head, right? What you can't do is something that nobody can take from you. Well, except you have amnesia or dementia as you age or something like that. But
Yeah.
but saying that, right? What you have in your head are like the only things that nobody can take from you, right? So the question that is always on my mind to this day is, how can I always do more? And I'm not even kidding. I very quite literally finished a course in game development. I'm kind of working on creating my own video game and stuff like that. I don't know how I'm going to make money from that. I don't know if I plan to make money from that. But the point is, I can do that, or I can do it very shabbily right now, but I can do that, right? So it's the little things for me. It's stacking up, value that you can offer. So you then have to ask yourself, the value I'm offering and the money you're trying to pay me, does it work for me? Is it worth the time I'm going to spend on it? Because if it's not, then I'm not going to do it. Whether at the end of the day, if I'm working for you, I'm pretty sure it's for you to make more money at some point along the line, right? So it's a whole web of money making for everybody involved and value provisions. So I don't think any of us should be at the short end of that stick. But again, it's all time. Again, I was taking peanuts for graphic design back then because the value I was offering back then was peanuts. If I told you that I wanted to work for you back in college, and you told me that you're going to pay me, I don't know what passes for a large amount, say $10,000, I would think something was wrong because I knew I was not offering any amount of any value that was worth that amount of money, right? So the more value you can offer, the more you expect to be to charge, right? The more you expect to be valued. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense, but yeah, it's just about accumulating value, so to speak. However cliche that sounds.
Yeah, like it doesn't sound cliche when you are saying it. All right.
I feel like you're being very generous here.
No, I'm not being generous. Like I don't know, chats. You guys can bear me witness, right? I feel that Yunus just said, like I don't know which one is your first name, so pardon me if I actually,
Just Afeez is fine.
Afeez, right? Afeez said, he's not a global person. Then proceeds to say that he has not worked for any African, company in years.
Okay, quick one. Andreas, have you worked for any African company before?
No.
But,
no.
No. Like
I think this is also
not in Nigeria.
It's also a question of where you reside. To be fair, it's a question of where you reside. If Andy lived in somewhere in Africa, he's most probably going to take African clients at some point in his life. If I did, when I still lived in Nigeria back then, I'm pretty sure there would have been people that would like try to reach out to me and stuff like that. So it's a big question of where you reside. Well, I reside in the UK. A lot of people who reach out to me live in the UK. Some from Europe, right? But I've never gotten any clients from Japan. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? I've never gotten any clients from Russia. I've never gotten any clients. I think I've gotten one from Dubai. My point is, this is more of a question of where you reside, in a manner of speaking. And I feel like it's part of why I decided to move in the first place, to be honest. It's part of why I decided to move. Africa, everybody can come up with reasons why Africa is great and all like that. But there was this, where I lived in Nigeria kind of felt stifling. Like I needed to go out there and do more. And that was why I left. Right? I needed to see what the world was like. I needed to see because before I left Africa and Nigeria, I'd worked with like foreign clients, right? So you saw their perspective, you saw their work ethic, and you want more of that. So I traveled to experience more of that in person. That was just it. So it's me not doing African clients is just because I live here. It's not because
No. Like I honestly, like I'll just move to the next point because
Yes,
I'm more like points to like make it clear, like make it obvious that like if you try to like break it down, like you see what I mean, like as a global person. But right, so moving on, I think there has been like a lot of rancor everywhere, like everybody is talking about like AI stuff and the effect it actually has on like product design and stuff like that. And for me, like seeing people like you still stick with product design, still do stuff in that regard. I think I still saw like your recent post where you were like showing some screens from like a product that I think you're working on and stuff like that. I mean, like, how is that all that issue, like how is it affecting you? And is Rive sort of like saving you from like whatever effects that maybe AI is like having like on product design? Do you sort of like have more jobs because like, okay, maybe like some things that you can do with Rive, like AI is not it's not like
I can't say okay. So I've been working for a company for about 2 years now. I feel like that's where most of the AI paranoia has reached all new high. So I've not really been able to like, okay, am I getting more work done? Although my personal work has changed, I think AI is, I don't know, man. I've not swallowed the pill about how it's going to save the world or whatever. I think AI is very disruptive. I think it has come to change a lot of things. Sometimes not for the better. Right. And people compare this to the industrial age where yeah, so when an industry changes, people adapt. And I think AI does that, but like for like multiple industries. And when people adapt to an industry changing, people shift to other industries because, well, it's available. But AI change has changed like a lot of other industries. So the question is, what do you do? Do you like let it take over, or do you try to adapt? And to be a matter of fact, is there's only one choice left. You have to adapt, right? AI is here. Use it, live with it, find a way to adapt to it, right? I think I learned software development, and this was by the time I learned it actually, AI was it was budding at that point, right? I remember a couple months after I started learning, I saw some Altman's tweets that ChatGPT is available. Try it out. This was a couple months after I started learning. I'm out to code. I saw the tweet and I was like, okay, this is a game changing tool. Right. Over the years, I've begun to rely more on AI to do a lot of the the software side of things. It's better than I am. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm not a software developer. I can't apply to a job and say I'm a software developer. Hey, let me work on your code please and stuff like that. I can't do that. I design, I write some code to prototype, I show you how I want it to work bit by bit, and if you want me to push some code to I imagine repair and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be hired as a software developer. My point is AI writes much better code than I am, and I write it faster. Right. So why not just let it do that for me? Just let it do that for me, right? I'm not fighting you. I'm going to spend days trying to set. So there's some prototypes on. I have a lot of prototypes that are just like in a graveyard on my laptop that have not reached. Maybe they didn't turn out the way I wanted. Maybe they've not reached the way I want them to reach, or something like that. And each of these prototypes normally would have taken weeks to set up, right? Because you have to remember, as a prototype, you have to say, yeah, there's like normal basic setup to be done. There's normal visual arrangements or layouts to be done before you actually get into the prototype, right? You have to set up this scroll view. You have to set up this V stack. I'm talking about Swift UI. You have to set up this V stack and stuff like that. And all of it has to look good. All of these things take days to set up. But with AI, I can literally set it up within minutes. I'm like, okay, so I have something I want to work on. Let's set up this V stack and set it up within minutes. My point is, it helps me work faster. It helps me push ideas out faster. It helps me think things through faster. If ideas are not going to work, I know within a day or two of testing it out, right? Normally, that would have taken weeks. So AI helps in that regard. I'm not going to tell you that in terms of job opportunities, it makes it better. I don't think it does, because people now need less people to get things done, right? The job that I'm doing with AI is what junior developers would do at companies. Right, that's or mid-level developers. That's what they would do at companies. But now that you can ask AI to do it, you don't need a lot of junior developers anymore, if at all. All right, and that has led to a whole lot of layoffs and people in the job market fighting for the same jobs that you are fighting for. Right, and it's what it is. The world is what it is. The world is always going to move on. You can't really fight it. There's nothing you can do. Unless you are one of those pulling the strings, and those pulling the strings want AI to take over, because again, it makes them pay less money, right? So what you have to do is just adapt and try to fight and forge forward. So in terms of Rive helping me out in that regard, I wouldn't say it does. People still hire product designers that don't know how to code. It's the truth. People still hire motion designers. People still hire graphic designers. Do they hire them less than they would have 5 years ago? Yes, but they still do. And that's what we have to work with. So that's what we do. We just keep forging on. Is it that or what's the other option again? Sit and that's the thing. There's nothing else to do. There's no other, unless you want to change your career entirely. And if you want to do that, that's cool. Right. But I've tried different things. I said it before. I am not design is what I do. I mean, I am a very, very visual person, right? I'm not a very mechanical person. So back then in Nigeria, Andy, there's something called a generator in Nigeria. So Nigerians don't have power that often. So we have this thing called a generator where you turn it on and it gives you power for as long as there's fuel in it. Yeah. Nigerians are very, very most of the things that the government is supposed to do for us, we do it by ourselves. But that's a long story. As a kid, I'd watched my younger brother. He's very handsy. He's fixed his generator like a couple of times. He knows how to fix generators generally. I'd sat with him before. I know how to do it in my head. So one time I tried to decouple the generator and reassemble it to fix a problem. I decoupled it successfully. I had difficulty recoupling it. I just couldn't. It just wasn't working. And that and a whole lots of like other things. I am not a very handsy person, is what I'm trying to say. I am terrible at it. No matter how easy. It took me a while to learn to change sockets for bulbs. It took me a while to learn to do that, and I still cannot do it very well. I am not a very handsy person. So my point is, I like to sit in front of the laptop and design. Do you understand? And throw ideas at the screen and see what plays out. So for someone like me, what other option is there for me? All right. The only thing I can do is get better at what I do. So enough to stand out in a regard. And that's one. So I think we also might be overstating how much people don't want to hire people who are good. You don't have to be best in class or anything. I feel like there's nobody that's really best in class at what they do, right? This is, sentiments but you're not really best in class at what you do. Maybe you might be the most popular, right? But like there are other people that are really crazy at what they do. So that's just what you have to be. Just be good at what you do and put your stuff out there. So I learned this one pretty late. I think it's important that you put your stuff out there. Again, I have a lot of like prototype graveyards on my phone. I just have to complete and put out there. And that's a very good thing to just have it set on my phone. Nobody knows I can do this. Nobody knows I've tried something like this before. The more you try it out, the more you put it out there, you're like someone who knows how to cook, but then just cooks in their house and eats it. Nobody knows you know how to cook. You have to tell the world that you know how to cook. So that's the thing about projects. So that's why I try as much as I can when I'm not like very busy to do personal stuff and put it out there. That's what you can do. The more personal stuff you do, the better you are at what you do. It's automatic. That's a no-brainer. The more stuff you do for yourself, the better you are at it. And put it out there. So I've forgotten, there was a quote somewhere. I've forgotten who said it, but I saw it on Twitter once and said, there's one very straightforward path to success, and that's know how to do something very well and let the world know that you can do it very well. Like those are like the two things. Know how to do it well, let the world, and it kind of makes sense because if you're a very, very awesome designer, that's cool. That's good for you. It's useless if nobody knows you're a very good designer. Right. So, and that's why you realize that a lot of the time there are people who are, I wouldn't say loud, but that's what comes to mind, but they are not very good at what they do, but they are loud at it. These people take the cake from you because the world knows that this person does design, even if you know in your head that this is not very good design. The average hire person, right? The average person who's going to hire them does not know that. You know it's not great design because you're a designer. They don't know that, right? So they hire people who are really loud, who are really popular, and that's what you have to fight against. I don't think that's what AI can take from you, really, because at the end of the day, you're designing, you're using AI in your workflow. I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying it helps. You're using AI. For instance, on Figma, I send pictures to it. I ask you to remove background. I ask you to add this particular element here, or remove this or remove that. This is something that would have taken me hours to do on Photoshop. I'm not sure if you're familiar. In Photoshop, there's this tool, the lasso tool, where you have to cut out.
Yeah.
That was ages ago, right? Nobody does that anymore. Nobody does that anymore. So imagine you find someone who says, hi, I still use the lasso tool to cut out images. You look at the person like, dude, really? Right? Just because there are tools that do it for you literally within seconds, right? So that's exactly what it's like. If AI fits in a particular side of your workflow, then just use it. It is here. It's here to stay. There's nothing that you can do about it. It literally is here to stay forever, unless maybe the world ends or something. So you're either with. I'm not trying to like black pill you about AI and saying, hey, it's going to change the world or whatever. No, I'm just stating the fact. It is here to, whether I like it or not, it's here to stay. So just deal with it and move on. It's just what it is. If there's an AI tool, so sometimes I do 3D modeling for like personal stuff. If there's an AI tool that can model things for me faster than I can, I will use it. I don't want to have to do the repetitive tasks. They are mundane. They are annoying to keep doing. It's just annoying to keep doing, right? So why not just let it do it for you and move on and get better at what it is that you want to get better at and let the world know. That's it. There's nothing else that you can do. I feel like you need to like sit and look at it, with those glasses. That okay, so if I give up because AI is going to take all the jobs, what else am I supposed to do with my time, with my life? Am I just going to sit? They say that there's no other option, so just do it. Just do it. I sound like Nike, but I'm not a Nike.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like that was like a very like interesting take. So guys, over here, like I don't know, probably your Twitter is like maybe has like different like because for I mean like checking like Twitter as a like Nigerian, like it would try to like give me like a lot of posts from people that are African. And very recently, like I've been seeing like posts that this is not the time to get into product design. And like I mean, like I'll see like that tweet, and everybody's like, oh my, like this like was really is really like a thing where people are like, okay, maybe product design is dead or something like that, and maybe
sorry to cut you short. I think
yeah, sure.
product design being dead is a very funny thing, and it's very tricky. Product design has evolved from what it used to be, kind of. Before it used, so there's a time that we're using Photoshop for product design. Like this was before Figma was a thing. We're using Photoshop to like design screens and share our ideas of what it's going to look like, and you try to a developer and they'll try to implement it. I think that time has passed. Nobody, if you tell me that you're using Photoshop to design products, people will look at you weird because there are better tools for it right now. Right. And from there, there's a time that prototyping on Figma was the real deal. Right. I think there was a contract that I got because my portfolio, which was at the time prototyped on Figma, entirely in Figma, had these crazy interactions and stuff like that. And I was like, this portfolio is great, actually. I can see what you can do with Figma. Would you like to work with me? Yeah, someone says it's a tool change, not dead. It's not dead, it's just evolved. If you're going to become a product designer right now, you need to understand that you need to know how to prototype. I don't prototype in Figma, I need prototype with Cloud Code or Codex, if that's more your jam. You need to know how to do the things. So it's changed, is more like it. It's changed. And all what we're saying, at the end of the day, you realize that there are people who still do not know how to code and are still great product designers. They're still hired, they're still, doing their shit and stuff like that. It happens. But if you're going to become a product designer right now, you need to understand that okay, designing grids is the bulk of the job. Knowing how to design, understanding your typography, your spacing, and all of that stuff. It's like the bulk of the job, right? But you also need to offer something extra. For me, before, the something extra that I've always offered was always motion. Say, hey, I can make your product look good. I can make it run good. I can make it catchy and stuff like that. That was something extra that I used to add. And now there's that, and then there's also prototypes. Right? You don't even need to know how to code. It helps vastly if you understand the coding side of things, right? But if you can prototype a code, that's also a leg up. So the job hasn't. There's a time the product designers actually product design and front-end development were like the same thing, right? So my point is the role always evolves. It's not. I don't know why people call it dead. It's not dead. It has just evolved. It's just why there's still people hiring for these things every day. There are companies hiring for these things every day, especially in a time where most of the time when I prototype, my prototypes look the same without visual direction because there's a way that your AI products look. It's not a bad thing. It's very efficient. It's very functional. So all products cannot look the same. You need a product designer to come in there and tweak things. All right. You need a product designer to say, okay, so this color, this color alignment and this color theory has to work this way. This spacing is a bit off. And I still do that with Claude today. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's raise this. Sometimes so what I do with Claude is when he generates a prototype for me and I'm like, okay, let me have a panel, some kind of kit that when I tap an element, I can space it out. I can, move it upwards, move it downwards, change color and stuff like that. And that's how I work. And that's my process. So with companies I work with, that's what I do. So my point is, it's not dead. if you think it's dead, you can try something else. But I don't think it's dead. It's just evolved. I think that's a term for it. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does really, and it actually leads me to like the next question, which you sort of like, giving me like, like you've sort of like answered that in a bit, which is like you offer like, motion design with product, what you've been doing, then also now prototyping. And so because my next question would have been, so how do you do it, like, get jobs, with Rive, and stuff like that. So I guess it's like, it's in the prototyping, aspects. I don't know if you care to like, expand on that.
For getting jobs, I literally just put my work out there. I said it before, nobody knows you can do this thing if they can't see it. I literally just put my work out there. And sometimes I try applying. I'm not a very, again, so another thing, I'm not a very social person. I hate interviews. I'm not even kidding. I hate interviews. So I'm not very great at them, and as a result, I don't really apply to jobs as often. I apply once or twice. I hardly ever goes anywhere, to be honest. All the jobs that I've had, literally all the jobs that I've had, have been jobs where they have reached out to me. Right. When I look at a job on LinkedIn, for instance, and I see the perks, and I'm like, oh, this would be nice. This company would be nice to work with. This product is intriguing. I would like to be a part of it, and I apply. It hardly ever goes anywhere. Like I cannot think of one where I get interviews, right? But I'm not grading them because as an interviews, I don't know. There's this performance that I have to put on, right? And that's me anyway, and it's weird for me, and I can't do that, right? So I do terribly at interviews, but I get a lot of interviews, but it never really leads anywhere. At the end, for me, most of the time I just get dropped at the last stage. It's the truth. It happens. I get dropped at the last stages. Close to the last stages like a lot. I'm kind of used to it. If I get an interview today, I'm pretty sure I'll probably drop at the last stage. I don't know why. It just happens. But every job that I've had, literally every job that I've had till this day, as in jobs where they reach out to me, whether by reference, whether they found my project somewhere. So on my LinkedIn, there's this project I had with Jackpot. It was a project that I did 6, 7, 8 months prior that they found. That's the thing about putting your jobs out, your works out there. You don't even know what work it is that is going to draw them to you. I kid you not. You don't know what projects that you put out there that had like 0 likes. The likes are not important. Trust me on that one. Believe me when I tell you, the likes are not. I think, do they do something for your brain, for your dopamine? Yeah. I found that. So what I do when I want to post a project, so I don't have to worry about the likes, is I post it, but I schedule it. So I post it around 11 a.m. or something, whenever I'm ready to do it. And I schedule it maybe like 4 or 5 hours later, because I know that by the time you post, I'm not aware of the posting, right? So I'm not watching for likes or reposts or whatever. Right? So that's the trick that I found for everything that I post. Because again, your likes are not important. That's just the truth. So most of the projects that you find that the project that got me that job was a project that got 20-something likes on Twitter. It was 20-something likes. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It was already 20-something likes, but somehow someone found it, someone referred it, and I got reached out because of it. And it was a fun project. It was a fun job that I got out of it, right? So that's how it happens, really. That's how it happens. You put your work out there, you let everybody see it, and you hope for the best. I'm not guaranteeing anything. This is not a guarantee. I'm in the pool as much as everybody is. Quite literally everybody. I'm in the pool, right? But you can only do what you can do. Like, just put your best effort, put your best foot forward. Put your post out there, move on. Don't watch it. You don't need to watch it. I mean, you can read the comments and answer the comments if you want to do that. But I don't really do that. I find I don't. It's all fickle. See, people who like your posts probably forget about it the following day. I'll move on from it. I'm not going to deny the likes are great. They do something for your brain. You're happy that your posts get likes and stuff. Sometimes it goes a long way, yeah. But at the end of the day, the point is just put it out there, whether it's good or not. You can only get better at things by doing them, right? So the more personal projects you do, the better you get. You put it out there, and one of them is bound to click at some point, I suppose. I don't know. It's no guarantee. It's just how the world works. But that's literally how I get clients to work with outside TalkTalk, that is.
All right. So wait, so like I'm pretty like the one you said outside talk now, there's something I'd like to say about that. But so like for me, like thank you so much for like breaking that down, and how you approach it, your philosophy, behind posting your content. And it's a really great one actually. So but then I'm like I'm now more like so where does Rive actually now feature? Is it like, where you do your prototypes, how exactly do you like, use Rive in your product design, whole whole
It,
thing?
yeah, it depends on the role, right? It depends on the role. For Jackpot, I was part of. So Jackpot is an entertainment company, which means a lot of visual flair and stuff like that. So Rive was like pretty pivotal. So that role in what I did was maybe 60-70% Rive, maybe then 15% product design and 15% product development, right? So it depends on the role. Sometimes there are roles that I don't even actually. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's a role that I have not used Rive in since 2023 in some capacity or the other. There's always been Rive involved now that I think about it, but it depends on the role. And most of the roles that I've gotten, I tend to. So there's some roles that I just decide I'm not going to take. There's a number of rules I said I can't take it because it doesn't sound fun to me. It doesn't sound like, or maybe the people are not my vibe. I do that a lot. Because I've realized that as much as I enjoy what I do, working with the wrong people or maybe working on the wrong projects can take the life out of you. And you're just stuck in a project that you committed to and it's going on for months, but you're not really enjoying yourself. It happens, and then you're dreading your Mondays. Listen, I'm an old man, right? I can't start dreading my Mondays. I can't wake up on Monday and be like, oh my god, what am I doing? So I tend to take on projects that are fun. It does help. I'll be honest with you. It does help that I have some money saved. Like, so I can, when I'm rejecting projects, I have like some money that I can spend and leave and stuff like that. That does help. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't. But in typical cases, I'm like, I have to look at the projects, how fun is it going to be to work on this? The people, the vibes I get from people is very, very, very important, because trust me, you don't want to work with someone who diminishes what you do, right? I had a cousin once. What am I saying? He's alive. I have a cousin. Jesus. I have a cousin who, if you're in Nigeria, you know this. Okay, I won't call her name, but she's a popular actress. She doesn't do it anymore, but she used to run a host of TV shows for, is it in Danny
Okay.
TV, or I think it's in Danny TV or Riki TV or something. I don't know. But she used to do a lot of TV shows. So my cousin is a designer, a graphic designer, but that's his major. It just does graphic design. So he was in charge of like the brand for that woman, designing for her shows, the shows assets and stuff like that. That was what he does. I don't know if he still works for her. We haven't spoken in a very long time. And the first week that he got job, he was telling me the first week that he got the job, the woman's husband was like, "Oh, you're the designer." Well, I'm a designer myself, but I'm a very, very busy person. That's why I don't design anymore. And that's why I decided to bring you on board. And it will go on that whenever the guy tries to design, at least at the very early stages, this husband, who turns out is not really a designer, but will come in and try to, shift things. My point is, my cousin stayed at the job, right? And I probably would have stayed at the job too at that early stage of my life. But if I come across something like that right now, I most probably wouldn't. The minute you tell me that you're a designer once, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to step out. Maybe you can design it yourself and stuff like that. After a while of working with people, you tend to get the feel for these things. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but most of the time you're right, because you know these things. It's a pattern. So you kind of know when a founder tells you, "Oh, we have something that we're working on. We would like to do so." You know if this person is going to let you go crazy, or if you just want someone to push pixels, right? And depends on, as a designer, it depends on who you are. If you're fine with just pushing pictures, that's cool, right? If you're someone who likes to take control and go crazy and explore things, so you have to understand who you are and the clients you're working with and the project itself. Is it going to be fun to work on? I have never in my life done a Web3 project. I wouldn't know where to start. The whole crypto thing, the whole NFT thing wasn't for me, right? The whole metaverse thing. There was a time that there was the whole metaverse craze going on, right? it was never really for me. Because whilst I'm sitting in front of you and you're trying to pitch the whole NFT thing to me. I'm like, is everybody okay? Is this some kind of mass hysteria going on? The NFT thing never made sense to me. So as a result, I never took any NFT project ever till this day. Ever.
Oh.
I don't know what it's like to design for an NFT project. I don't know what it's like to design for a Web3 project or a metaverse project. Do you understand? So that's just who I am. I can't do it. I don't know how to, right? So whenever you pitch me that, I'm just like, I can't do it with you and you have to move on. So my point is, you know who you are, you know the kind of projects you take, you know the kind of people you work with, right? So most of the jobs that I take are most of the people that reach out to me, they know what I can do with Rive. So as a result, they reach out to me projects that need Rive, if that makes sense. So Rive is always involved in the projects that I do because I don't know how to put it, it's like a cycle, it's a chicken and egg problem. You see what I can do with Rive, and then you reach out to me because you need Rive, and I use Rive, and then you see what I can do with so yeah. I use Rive in all my projects, different levels, but I use Rive in all my projects.
Wow, that's really interesting. Well, actually, which is going to be like my last question, and what's the time now? I'm pretty much sure I've taken all the time already. So I have this very specific question for one last project I saw on your profile. I'm going to try to find it now. Sorry, I should have done that ahead of this chat. So it was this particular one where you held no, your featured. Okay, so it's like your last post, actually. It's your very last post. Just want to be sure that I'm guessing it correctly. I'm just going to send it to the chat right now. And it was basically the one that you it's almost like you held I sent it to the chat. Yeah, so you I don't know, you click on that stuff, then you drag it, I don't know if that's the one that I copied. I'm wondering how you do that with Rive. Is it that can't just only be Rive, that has to be the prototype as you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm going to, someone asked the question, the most challenging aspect of Rive. I think I'll answer that one before I jump into yours. Cool?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
There has not been a challenging aspect of Rive for me to learn so far. And I think that's partly because I started with Rive in the very early stages. So as they added much more complexity to the products, I kind of just evolved with it, if that makes sense. If you're joining Rive now, it might seem a bit daunting because there's all these things to learn, right? There's state machines, there's property values that you have to understand, there's a new timeline, there's also the agent side of things. I'll say the agent is maybe difficult. I wouldn't say it's difficult to learn. It's the scripting side of things. I've not learned how to write Luau scripts, and I don't think I'll ever learn how to write Luau scripts. It's very, very...
Yeah, my next set of videos are actually for you, right? I'm coming to create more tutorials on scripting. I absolutely I'm vibing with scripting right now. Yeah,
so
sure, go ahead.
For the Luau thing, I just ask the agent if this is going to be possible. I think it's best for you to talk the agent through ideas that you have or that it has, and then try to build for your credit sake, because that thing can take through credit. That's how I use the agent side of things. But anything that's difficult for me to learn, once I started learning it, once I understood state machine, I think everything just clicked. What helps is also practice. You practice things, you try different things. Rive is a kind of tool that is very, very modular. Three people can achieve the same results in different ways. Right? That's just how Rive is built. So whatever approach you want to take to it, and that's cool. There was a speech product project that I worked on. I think I've not posted it, but it's a speech project. So what I did is I mapped the VSEMs, right, to the character, and then I put it in code in Swift to handle the timing and the text to speech and all of that. Someone did the same thing, but did everything in Rive, right, with script and stuff like that. So you can achieve the same thing with different approaches and stuff like that. So yeah, there's no really difficult thing. You just need to understand the basics of it and go on from there. You try things. If it doesn't work, try another thing. It's a click. Then to answer the other question, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The last project that I shared was not. I don't think there was in that post. There's no Rive involved in that at all. That was entirely just Swift UI.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's no Rive in
Let
that
me.
one. That was just Swift. Yeah, sorry to disappoint you. I could have done it in Rive though, to be honest. But yeah, I could have done it in Rive.
Oh wait,
I'll do it in Rive.
what? I don't know. Like okay. You know, like you posted, you know, like before this particular one, you actually posted, you know, stuff about that this same project.
Yeah,
But it's like, you know, all those like, you know, icons, you know, that were
yeah,
moving
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So I actually thought like on one of that posts you actually mentioned something related to Rive. I mean, like I'm aside from, you know, those ones. I'm coming. Just give me 1 minute. I need to just get this right.
So while you're
Because
doing that,
for me,
okay, go
yeah.
on, go on.
Oh, okay, yeah. So look, so there was one you said overactive. Oh, okay. It was the one with the icons, you know.
Yeah.
Overreactive now by icons, you know, with Rive and Swift. But then I thought that you actually like utilized, you know, Rive in the other one, which was really confusing for me because I was like, okay,
So
you touch and then you do stuff like that. How's that, you know, something?
yeah, that one is entirely in Swift. The rule for me, and if you watch my contra video when I submitted the project, the first project that won me that one, is you have to think of scalability, right? If you're going to be changing a lot of things in that property, for instance, it's just better to do it in code. All right. The icons at the bottom of that screen, you're not changing those. They're going to be there throughout the app, right? So I used Rive for that. For the next post, the one that adds to watch list or Max has watched. Sorry. That one, while you can 100% do it in Rive, but the question is it smoother to do it in Rive or just do it in code? Which one is going to be easier to manage as it grows? You know, and the answer is just do it in code, and I just do it in code. So yeah, it's just do it in code. That's it. Again, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's a project that you enjoy doing. Just do it, put it out there, move on from it. That's it.
Yeah, all right. So before I open the floor for questions, this what you just said, like, you know, opens like, you know, this stuff that has been going on my mind because I've been doing a lot of code stuff. You know, like, you know, working on Raw or whatever it's called, you know, scripting in Rive. I've been, you know, like sort of like thinking about code. And you know, like, you know, because I actually like have a course, and then someone reached out to me, and you know, the person was asking, like, you know, with the way I was like always like, you know, because there's this maze game I was actually working on, and you know, I was just all like doing all the scripting in Rive and stuff like that. And the person was like, you know, with the way the person is saying it, you would think, you know, Rive is all about code and all that, and that got me thinking, because the I've been having some thoughts about, you know, code and stuff like that. Do you think, um, you know, for us, you know, as you know, motion designers, you know, trying to work with Rive, you know, trying to make a living from interactive animation and stuff like that, do you think that, you know, it's an absolute necessity to really learn how to code? And how far, you know, can one go, you know, with interactive animation without necessarily needing to, you know, like learn the code side of things?
You can go very far. I don't think you need to learn to code at all. At
No,
all.
I'm not even saying like, you know, with, you know, like I'm not even talking about like, you know, I made, you know, like, you know, like for instance now those now bar icons and all that, you know, those things, you know, you can do it and stuff like that. But if you really want to like, you know, do like, you know, maybe really go far and, you know, like maybe like, you know, like really move a lot, you know, do you think that, you know, one can just like, you know, stay with, you know, just like, you know, the animation side of things and not really like, you know, delve into code, you know, one way or the other?
When you say stay in the animation side of things, do you mean without the data binding side?
You know, like, you know, you can do the data binding side. You know, data binding side is not really that much like of a complex thing if you actually look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you want to do maybe way crazier things, like let's say for instance, you know, I'm working on my game now, I had to like, you know, I had to do what do we call it now? as to constraints, aside from the character control, as to like you have to, the constraints is one of the like big things when it comes to games. Then of course I had to like because I want people that are using phones to be able to like navigate. So I'm working on like this A-star pathfinding stuff and trying to like implement that using scripts, like so these are not things that you can just do normally, just staying like on on the, oh yeah, I just want to animate, I just want to do stuff. And I can imagine that there are some projects that for instance, now you probably want to also show like, oh, this thing that I did, this is how it works in like a real life project, same way you mentioned, prototyping and stuff like that, to give more context to what you're doing. Maybe that's basically what I'm trying to say. Like, do you think that and maybe that's your answer, which is like you can go far,
You don't go very far because I know a lot of like Rive designers who don't know how to code at all. So my path to Rive is what makes me code. Right. I'm in a product world, right? I do product stuff. So I kind of have to learn how to code. If you're a motion designer, and then you learn Rive, you don't need to know how to code. There's this guy that's very popular, Ima Colombo. I don't know if you know Emmanuel Colombo.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure he knows how to code. I can bet my left butt that he doesn't know how to code. Right? It's just how it is. You don't need to know how to code. You have. Does it help? Yes. Yeah, it helps me with architecture, like on the code side of things, but you don't need to know how to code at all. Right. So you don't need to blow it out of proportion. Just start. Yeah, you don't need to know.
So that's all for me. Like I'm opening the phone now for everybody else who has a question. Sorry, like we're taking so much of your time, like giving you left, right, and center, like trying to like suck the the information out of you, and we have to.
Yeah, it's not a very difficult software to learn. I do think you get much better at this by practicing, like a whole lot more. So most of the projects that I take, most of them are projects that I have done a personal project for at some point. So it's just easier for me to just be like, oh, this is what you want. I've done something like this before. Of course, I don't tell them that. I just retrofit what I have before, try to see if it works with what they want and stuff like that. My point is now I know how to do it because I've done it before, right? And that's just the thing. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's just how it works. It's just how it works. Yeah. So if there are no questions, yeah, I might have to run. I have an engagement by 7:15 my time. If that's
yeah, sure. Like definitely. I don't know if anybody has a question. You guys don't have a question. It's about to leave. All right, but if you actually have any question, you can just like text it to me or text it to him directly on his LinkedIn. I think that note confirms that it's like open to stuff like that. And also, most importantly, ensure you visit him on his LinkedIn, give him a follow, and no, not like visit him like disturb him or whatever. Like give him a follow, follow his works, whatever. All right.
Yes.
All right. So so that's it all for everybody. Thank you so much, Afeez, for choosing to actually do this. It's really like a great time, and you really, impacted us with a lot of, value and information. So
yeah. All right. It was really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Habib, Mashoud, Akani, Andy. Yeah. Have a great one. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.